Hi there, my name is Dr. Kimberly Olson. I am a licensed clinical psychologist and a licensed marriage and family therapist. If you clicked on today, it's because you want to learn how to do your relationships differently. Maybe you're wanting to save a relationship. Maybe you're fed up and frustrated and don't understand why he or she does what she does and why they react and respond the way they do. And is it me? Are they treating me poorly because it's something I'm doing? Um, how come my friendships don't work out? How come predictably my relationships with men and women seem to end the same way? Well, you came to the right place. I want to take you through a series of activities that would cost you a couple of grand if you took them through workshops. This is a collection of things, of tasks that I have come to believe over the last 25 years of doing therapy is the most important part of relationship success. Okay. It's not the sex. It's not how often you all get to go to the movies. And it isn't even necessarily your communication skills. Okay. Although all those things are lovely. Okay. But it's about you really understanding what moves you. Okay. And really understanding what moves your partner. Okay. And it often has nothing to do with you, the responses your partner has to you. So if you're serious about this, please go on this journey with me. Okay, I respond to email. Let's do this together, but it's not going to take 20 seconds. Okay, and I'm coming to realize socially, we have such a tiny attention span that we're willing to spend hours on TikTok or YouTube, but we're not willing to spend an hour on the thing that's supposed to be most important, which is our relationships. If you do this, you go through these 5 steps, I guarantee your relationships will be better. Okay, and I have got 25 years of experience to suggest that that is absolutely the case. All right, so where do we start off? We start off by needing to understand ourselves and where we come from. All human beings start off with a template. And if you can think in terms of a Jello mold, okay, for the guys, think in terms of a template for a car, okay. So you have the template for a Toyota, they pour in the steel and you get a Toyota each and every time, right? Because that's the template. Ladies, and I apologize if this sounds sexist, I'm old, cut me some slack. You have a template, say for Jello, okay, that, you know, those plastic things that probably your ma had. You pour the Jello in, you put it in the fridge, and each and every time you get the same Jello, right? Because the Jello keeps getting poured into the same template. Ladies and gentlemen, human beings are the same way. Okay, we are template, and our template forms in childhood. It's where we come to figure out what normal is, which, by the way, it might surprise you, but it's different for everybody. Okay, so what you consider normal could be drastically different from even what your neighbor considers normal or what your partner considers normal. It's where we learn what to expect from relationships, from family, how to treat each other, who's in control, who gets away with bullshit, and do we, if the kids don't like what one parent has said, do they simply go over the head of the other one to the other parent? I mean, we learn all of those things in our templates. And so before you can begin to understand what the hell is really going on with another person, you need to understand what's going on with you. Okay. But this takes investment. This takes time. This is not superficial. This is not a 10-minute fix. Okay. And that's what we keep on seeing. And that's why we are so desperately unhappy and failing, honestly, in relationships. We'll put more time into social media than we will into our own relationships. But I'm asking you to prove me wrong. Okay. I put this in a book called The Least You Should Know About Therapy. But I realized really quickly that this is the least you should know about yourself and about relationships. And I'm going to include the worksheets for you to do. I will attach a link to them. Okay. So you don't have to buy the book. I don't even care about that. I desperately want to convey this message because I sure would like to see more families working things out. Okay, especially when there's babies involved. Okay, so I told you about your template, right? And we talked about where the heck this comes from. So let me share screen. Okay, so how do we figure out what this template thing's about? Okay, how do I begin to understand what really made me? And the more intricate you get, the more time you put into this, the more you're going to get out of it. If you are over there scoffing and going, this is crap, I don't need to go back over my history, I don't need to know. Well, what I will share with you is ignorance of yourself and what moves you is incredibly dangerous to relationships. Okay. You can assume that you know. Okay. But if we all knew so well, then our relationships wouldn't be so fucked up. So let's be candid. Let's take a minute to go over this. Okay. Like I say, I'm going to attach this so you can actually work on this on your own. I won't be posting the next video until next week, because I want you to take a week with this. So it starts with questions as simple as city and state that you grew up in. Guys, the region or country for that matter, it matters. Okay, it matters about how you perceive the world. Did you feel safe in your neighborhood growing up? Some of you were raised in the Midwest and you knew to come in when the street lights came on, and then some of you were raised in really dangerous neighborhoods. Some of you were raised in somewhere in between. Okay. So there's all kinds of questions. I'm not going to go over each and every one of them, but I will give you a few more. What concept, if any, did you grow up with regarding God as a child? It matters. Even if you were raised to believe there was no God, it matters on how you deal with the world and how your template was created. What about your parents' socioeconomic status? Who taught you how to work? Who taught you what to expect from life, what to expect from work? Okay. How did your parents handle anger towards each other? Okay. Was one of them dominant and one was more passive? Okay. How did you know that your mom was angry? How'd she deal with anger? Because I mean, let's be candid with both women and men, but especially women, that can be quite cunning, right? Maybe she was not a yeller or a screamer, but she was so passive aggressive. Good God, right? So these are all things that we need to understand about ourselves so we can first understand what moves us. So the same questions applying to dad. By the way, if you were like raised in a gay and lesbian home, it doesn't matter. Then you just change mother and father to two moms or two dads, or however you want to operationally define it. If you were raised by your grandparents, then put that in there. If you were raised in foster care, okay, that is very telling as well as far as what created your template. And it's not telling about who you are, but what created your template. Okay. Your most favorite memories of your mom. Okay, and the least. How did your folks do work, or did they do work? Did they do work at all? What's your birth order? Okay, that impacts how you deal with the world, how you deal with your spouse and relationships. Would it surprise you to know that the strongest couplings are between oldest children and youngest children? And of course, why is that? Because oldest children were used to being in control. They were taught to be very responsible, and little ones were taught that they were going to be taken care of and need less control. By the way, that's not true for everybody, but you get my point. If you got an oldest and a youngest, they're not going to be fighting about control. Whereas if you get two oldest, chances are they're going to be fighting about who controls what we do with our money and with our bills and all that stuff. And two babies might struggle to even, oh shit, we have bills. Okay. All right, siblings, relationships with siblings, which by the way, are carried over how we deal with friends and with colleagues later in life. Okay. And obviously relationships with mother and father have to do with how we relate to our spouse, to our employers. Okay. As a supervisor, I can tell you in about 5 minutes after meeting with a new employee, what their relationship was like with their mom. Okay. Is it distrusting? Is it I had to sell you on how fabulous I am? Is it competitive? Is it I will never question you because I was taught to not question authority. Okay, all these things matter. So these things should be very simple as far as intellectually for you to answer. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments box because I will answer them. And I also answer email. Okay, we're going to work through this together. Was your family a part of a subculture like the following: the military, gangs, LGBTQ, a certain religion that demanded that you guys go to church several times per week, that maybe put you outside of the norm in your neighborhood? And then, of course, there's a whole culture of poverty. Okay. And what about your ethnicity? What did your mom tell you to expect from society based on your ethnic group? Okay. All right. So you're going to, I got to give us a new share. Answer those questions. And they're going to end up in a chart like this. So my recommendation, honestly, although I will certainly include it on the attachments to this video, is that you actually get a really big piece of poster board. Okay, it's much more gratifying because there's lots of stuff. Okay, especially if you're older, there's going to be lots of stuff in your template. There's going to be lots of stuff in your pattern. And organizing information in this way is going to make that garble make some sense about directly how it's impacting your relationship with your kids or with your spouse or with your employer. Okay, so I'm just showing you this right now. Okay, we will be inputting the information from those worksheets next time. Okay, and what it will probably look like is something like this, although I will go ahead and bring my big version. Okay, you're going to get a key, okay, that tells you, like, item number 2 belongs in the demographic category. Item number 3 belongs in the female authority category. So if I was going over my template, well, this isn't mine. This is actually a former client from many, many years ago, who their demographics were, they were raised in Bayfield, Maine from 0 to 12. They lived in a neighborhood that was safe. They were able to play independently. From 12 on, they lived in Walter, Nevada. They were middle class. Parents were married for a long time and they were an oldest child. Now, how did I know where to put that information? It was based on the responses to your questions. So again, I don't want you to get too caught up in this part yet, okay? Because we'll go over that together next week. All you have to do for this week is to complete the actual relational worksheets. I want to give you an example. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so let's think in terms real quick of a relationship. Okay, maybe we have a young lady who you're working with, or in your case, maybe you are the young lady, and maybe your dad left growing up. Okay, that becomes a template for future relationships. That's not to say that you're going to be alone all your life. That's not the truth, especially if you've received some help and intervention. Okay, but it does mean that it impacts how you see the world, right? And what you might find with a girl that maybe her dad left is maybe she's been in several destructive relationships, right? We call that the pattern. Maybe the boyfriend in high school left. Maybe the boyfriend in college left. Okay. And maybe her current husband is in the process of leaving. And if you talk to this young lady, what she will tell you is that all men leave. And that's the alpha and the omega of her insight. Okay. All men leave. And I know you guys hear these generalized statements from people all the time, like all women are gold diggers or all men are cheaters. And that's just nonsense. That's not true. It's based on your template and the experiences that we create that keep that pattern going, which leads us to eliciting maneuvers, which is how you and I select people to fit into the mold. Because even if the mold sucks, okay, it's familiar, right? I often say that, like, women who've been abused, their sonar is broken. right? Think about the old sonar, right? If you're a young lady who was not raised in an abusive home, the first time you go out with a man who is demeaning to you, your sonar is gonna go off. It's gonna go danger, right? If this is behavior on our first date, this is not a good sign, and you're probably not gonna see him again. Okay. But if you were raised around that, your sonar's not gonna work. It's not going to alert you that this person is already showing you signs of being abusive. Well, the same is true for all of us with our different relationship templates. So let's go back to the little girl who her dad left, and then the boyfriends all left, right? What she did to create those situations, an eliciting maneuver, is that she cheated on the boyfriend in high school, the boyfriend in college, he was married, okay? And the fool that she was just married to, he had been married 4 times before. So for most of us, we would be like, well, yeah, of course all these guys left, right? But the sonar's broke. She doesn't recognize it. Pathogenic beliefs are the things we believe that keep these patterns, these really destructive patterns going. So for example, if I believe that all men leave, how much am I going to really invest in relationships? Okay, if I've already decided you're going to leave me anyway, how much am I really going to invest? Okay. And how much attention am I going to pay to things like resisting temptation? Okay, because I'm already sure you're going to leave. That's a pathogenic belief. And the core belief is what we believe about ourselves based on that. So oftentimes what happens is folks end up believing that it's something about them. I'm unlovable. That's the reason that men leave, not that I keep attracting icky, yucky men who would leave anybody. Okay. But again, that comes with self-awareness. So you owe this to yourself and to your family. Okay. Do the template worksheets. I will put out a new video next weekend and we will review what the heck those things mean and go on to the next step. Now, and you do need to warn you that a lot of the information that you're going to be writing about may be evocative, especially if you had a particularly brutal childhood. If any point it becomes overwhelming, put it down. Okay. My hope would be, however, is that if you're finding it especially evocative, that that might be a red flag to you that maybe you need to talk to somebody. Okay. What we're doing right now is self-help. But oftentimes what we need is somebody else there to assist us, to help us work through and muddle through. And I can't think of any greater reward for your efforts than having better relationships. Okay. But it starts with you getting to know you and what moves you. Okay. So I will again attach the worksheets for you, do them, and then I will suit up and show up and produce another video next week about the pattern, which is step 2. I may be here by myself. That's okay too. But hopefully somebody will take this and really run with it. Like I say, if we were to do this in a workshop, you don't even want to know how much it would cost. But this is something I want to give to you for free because I genuinely do care. I really do want people's relationships to be better if it's at all possible. So God bless you and thank you for your time.